Right, so carrying on with the summer project today, if anyone wants to do that, I thought I'd talk a little bit about colour and colour mixing. So if you've got any requests or anything you want to know about colour, see what you come up with. Then just a quick reminder, next week's our last session, then we'll have a break for 4 weeks and back on the 21st of August. The art fair is still going, so I'll be at Millie's on Saturday if anybody's coming around, but they're open. I think they may even be open on Sunday. I'm not sure. They certainly were open last Sunday, but they're open daily, at least till 9 till 3, sometimes later. Okay. When we come back, just a quick sort of reminder what we had on the schemes when we come back. August it's seascape, so that's almost like a continuation of the summer project. And then September I've got glass, light and reflections, and measuring and enlarging, and watercolour. So that's probably more still lifey type things and thinking. And then I may have a week or so off in September as well. I'm quite decided yet. And then in the autumn, sort of coming into October, I want to do another lino printing sort of month. So I know 1 or 2 people are really into the lino printing. No, it's not for everybody. So if it's not for everybody, that could be like your own project's time. But I'll do a month of lino printing. And then further on, we've got more still life, fruit and vegetables, textures, Christmas cards, and then December is wash scenes. So that's kind of what we've got. So colour, I've obviously done, I mean it can be in relation to the sort of summer kind of projects, and these were some of the demos I've done so far. I was thinking like beach scenes, so these were people on beaches. I usually do a session where I do a kind of introduction to colour, so the basics of primaries, and having a couple of primaries, and then making secondary colours. I thought it might be useful to talk about other colours, other useful colours. So, have you got, any requests? Yeah?
Yeah, how do you make sand colour?
Sand colour, okay, that would be quite good. So, find some sand pictures of sand here. I think sometimes I've seen a lot of people, let's just get a brush. I've seen a lot of people just go for something like yellow ochre and white, which makes something like that, which might be like sand, but I find it's a bit too yellow for me. I like the colours to be a bit more naturalistic, and most of the time it's not that yellow. So sometimes I've used brown more, white and brown, so that would create something a little bit more like a pinky sort of colour. And I think that's a little bit closer to the way the sand's coming out in these photos. It's closer, for me it's closer to that than that. Or it could be a combination of the two.
When you say brown, Paul, I think of burnt umber, is that what
yes, that's what I've just used, burnt umber. Yeah, it could be burnt umber. I mean, that'd be one of the useful colours to talk about. So I find that when I go out painting, I use a lot of white, I use a lot of the umber colours, and that's mostly kind of what I use, and then other colours come into it, but that's the colour, they're the colours I get through the most really, brown and white. So burnt umber, I've got both the umbers here. So that's the burnt umber, and get a fresh brush so it doesn't mess it up. I think this one is the raw umber, so I'll mix that with a bit of white. Yeah, so burnt and raw. So the burnt umber tends to be redder. So they're made out of the same pigment, but I think it's the way they treat it. Obviously they must burn one of them or something like that, I'm guessing. I think there's some sort of iron or something like that being made of. But the burnt umber is redder, and raw umber is slightly greyer, slightly greeny, like a sort of greeny brown. That's how I think of them. So both really useful colours. I tend to use the raw umber more, I think I used to use the burnt umber, but I might try and use the burnt umber a bit more. Both really useful. So it could be, I mean, actually for the sand, the burnt umber, I think is closer. If I added a little bit of white to that.
I suppose it depends what's in the sand. 'Cause
It does,
sometimes,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
out there, it'd be mud.
it's mud, or it could be mostly gravel and
Raised,
things
that's
like that.
right. And you get shadowing as well, don't you?
Yeah, 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 and sometimes you'll have,
Sometimes it's chalky.
it's
Chalky.
chalky, yeah. I mean, where it gets wet, I mean here, it then starts to take on some of the sky colour. So it's becoming reflective and reflecting, you know, so you're seeing some of the sandy colour, but some of the blue and lilac of the sky. So it might go a little bit more, try to make it a bit more purple. So perhaps some ultramarines and something like, I don't know what I've got there, some sort of red I've got there. Might be magenta, but you'll have, that's probably too lilac-y, but maybe something with that and a little bit of one of the umbers as well mixed in. You get, at the water's edge, you're perhaps getting colours a little bit more like that. That's a bit bluer, a bit lilac-y. Yeah, so can be all sorts. And obviously there's rocks and gravel, and so yeah, I find these sort of surfaces quite a challenge to paint really. Obviously these bits here, there'll be shadows here, so that's going to go very dark. So maybe more browns, a bit of red in with that. Use a little bit.
Very similar colouring to like you're doing stone, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah. So it could be like a, and then it's not all solid colour. So I might put some colour down, scrub that in, and then there might be other slightly lighter bits going through. Just trying to find a way of sort of breaking that up a little bit. Just breaking up the texture. Perhaps a few real dark dashes here and there, a few dark marks or something like that. So that's quite, that would be quite interesting. I'll just show you the other ones that I talked about to the other group. So greens, I think greens are quite interesting because they're quite a tricky one. So what I've done here was greens. This I was experimenting with like transparency. So I always find like painting sunsets, sometimes if I mix white with it, it can look very chalky. So building more transparent colours, and that's something to think about with colours. Some are going to be naturally more transparent than others, and you might want to use some of, I deliberately used a white bit of canvas here so that some of the white was showing through to give it a kind of glow. So that's something you can do. You can think about the background colour that you're working on, whether it's a toned canvas or bold or a white one. With the green, so this was, I was looking at the grains, and I got given this set of paints the other day. One of the students gave me, and Rayleigh, and there were a lot of greens in there. And I see students using green quite a lot, and on the back of some of these tubes, it tells you what's gone into it. So it'll have like P numbers, which is pigment numbers, and this one's PG7, which is pigment green 7. So this one says it's called hooker's green, and that PG7, when I looked it up, is a phthalo, what they call phthalo green. And you see a lot of phthalo green is the very popular pigment to use. I think with pigments, the cheaper pigments are ones that are used massively in commercial operations, like commercial paint manufacturing. And then the more expensive ones are the ones that are rarely used. But most of the greens, so that one's called hooker's green, this one's called viridian, but they've still just got one pigment in, and it's the same pigment. So they must have done, it looks slightly different when you get it out, but it's basically the same just put a little bit there. That's the hookers one, and this one's the Viridian. There's not masses of difference, but that is one single pigment in that. So often when you're buying colours, it's worth looking at what's inside them. Yeah, everything. Yeah, absolutely everything. Yeah. Because really all paints it's like coloured pigment. It's like ground up stuff that's got colouring, and then they stick it together with linseed oil or plastic for acrylics or gum for watercolours and gouache, and pastels is gum as well. So they're basically the same sort of things, but it just depends what they've decided to put in the tube. So sometimes you get brown made by one make, and it'll look completely different to another just because they've decided, even though they've got the same name, they might call it raw umber, but they've put different things in it, which is a bit, bizarre sometimes. So that's just, they're like single ones. But then this a couple of others. This one's called Terra Ver, and I used to have this one as an art school, and it's a very, well, this isn't genuine Terra Ver when I look at it, but again, it's made with phthalo green, the same as the others, but it's also got some natural iron oxide yellow, so I think that's like, I don't know, some sort of yellow, and PBR7, which is some sort of brown. So they've basically got a green, and they've made it a little bit more softer and more naturalistic by adding other colours in there. So it's quite nice, and the same with the sap one. That's got the phthalo in, but then they've added the other colours. So they're quite useful to buy sometimes, but you can obviously make something like these out of the other one and some of your other colours. So I just thought it's quite interesting. But with greens, I mean, out of the tube, some of these come out very artificial looking. So if I stick that down there, or just spread that out, that's not a green I'd see in nature. So I would need to then start adding, maybe, I mean, I might see something like that, a really bright green with a lot of yellow mixed in it. Mix more into that. Yeah, I mean, probably would see something like that. But I might also see a darker green, and I probably would, that's where these things like the Terra Ver that's already got other colours mixed in it, that to me is a more, I think that's straight out the tube, that's a more natural green for like a deep summer tree sort of thing. So that might be quite a nice one to use. Or you can obviously start mixing things like orange or brown or reds, those sort of colours in with your greens, and then you'll get colours that look more naturalistic. So yeah, by all means use all these useful colours, but I think it still needs some adjustment. Is that okay?
Trial and error, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, going back to your browns, is burnt sienna the same as raw umber? Or?
No, that's quite a different brown burnt sienna. It's burnt sienna, quite red. I've got red. So this one, it's a different pigment. Yeah. So it's a very reddy brown, like a sort of gingery colour brown. So I don't use it that much, but I think it probably is quite a nice colour to use. I just haven't got in the habit of using it. Yeah. But yeah, that's it's a bit like a rusty sort of colour, rusty brown. That can be quite useful.
Quite handy colour.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay.